So let me get to this intro. It's taking a minute. There we go. It's live. All righty. So Facebook people, are you in for a treat or what today? Thank you for coming to Comic Spot. This is interview number 968, plus or minus for the old lady. I'm glad you're at home watching. Some of you will be seeing this live. Not many of you, I get it. Don't tell you what to do. Gotcha. But you come in after the fact and you really help my numbers. So thank you so much for your support for the last couple of years. These were created just so you at home can get to know comedians off stage, behind their mask, before there was a mask. Yeah. You've been doing a good job of getting to know people. This is a fabulous way to know if you like somebody before you spend the money to hear them talk. So that's the whole angle behind it. Yeah, I used to go stand outside of Jimmy Kimmel's, and people by the droves would go down that pathway by Jimmy Kimmel's. They would look at the marquee, they'd go up and they'd look at all of the people on the marquee and turn around and walk away. And I got to thinking, people, like I've talked to people at comedy clubs, like, who did you come to see? Oh, we just wanted to get out. That's like going to the store and just picking something off the rack with your blindfold. This way, you know when you get done with this today, if you like JD Stevens, and then you'll say, I want to go find out where she's going to be performing because I like her. And then your odds of coming away from the comedy club and having had a good experience are 1000%. So that's the whole point of this. So let me read you oh yeah, I gotta say, I've got a sponsor, not a paying sponsor, but I got a sponsor. And my sponsor is the Veterans of Comedy. See my fatigue? Yeah, Sinbad. I interviewed Sinbad, not the sailor, the real comedian legend. I got to interview him. See, that's me. I've worn this for 2 years, JD. Do you know how many people must be out there stoned as all get out? Because I've worn this for 2 years and nobody once has looked at it and said, is that you with Sinbad? It's like, hello, it's right there. This is my mug. This is my mug. What don't you get? Do I look like 18 years older than this? No, I look exactly the same. Anyway, I'm in the Veterans of Comedy because I'm a military veteran like Sinbad. And the Veterans of Comedy is my sponsor. And they leave no laugh behind. They'll go anywhere and entertain military and veterans. So go to veteransofcomedy.com and scroll until you get to my picture and hire me. Skip the mess. They get enough work. Am I right? Kidding. Hi, Wilsey and Eric knows I'm just joking. Anyway, back to the show. Today's guest is so funny. I've seen her on a lot of KO comedy things that I've done, and she's amazeballs. You're going to love her. Wait until you hear this intro that I called her she. She goes by they. So she's not a she, and I'm mixing it up, and I said I wouldn't. I apologize. It's not funny. They go by JD Stevens. They, I'm really terrible with pronouns, is a Southern California based poet, writer, comedian, and vocalist. Did you hear that? Southern California based poet, writer, comedian, and vocalist. Wow. They are the host of a show called Mental Health Mondays. I need one every day, which they have hosted through Get Loud Movement's Instagram live feed for almost 2 years. This thing keeps moving on me. Hold up. They are also about to launch their podcast, and I'm so excited about this. I fucked up and it's going to be okay. And it's going to be okay. That's right. Real stories from real people on how they fucked up and it was okay. Boy, my family needs to see me on this show. They also performed at the Santa Barbara Laugh Festival this past week. We got to talk about that. JD is a mental health advocate first, entertainer second. I know I'm saying it kind of choppy. JD, there's a reason why I'm saying it choppy. I'm a mental health patient. I have a brain injury. So back off. JD is a mental health advocate first, entertainer second. They believe in using their art to start and have difficult conversations. All of mine are. You can follow them on Instagram at JD Stevens or their website, Linktree/ that always sounds like killing somebody. JD_Stevens, JD_Stevens on Linktree. Thank you for coming. Oh my gosh. JD, you're here in my place. So glad you're here. Where are you at right now?
So I am actually at home in Oxnard. And for anybody who's wondering why I have two screens, so my computer screen is good for the camera. And then, like, sorry, someone tried to call me. And then my phone is usually good for the audio, except when people try to call me right there. There we
go. You use technology like some people use boyfriends.
Yes. Who says I don't use boyfriends like that?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So you're in Oxnard and you know what I want to talk about before we go into your whole life from beginning to end? I want to talk about your podcast and your mental health scenario. Like, oh my gosh, tell me all about this. What got you in it? What exactly specifically are you doing in mental health? And like, what's it like? I want the whole picture. Just talk.
Okay, sure. Do you want me to talk about Mental Health Mondays first, or I fucked up and it's going to be okay first?
Both. First, talk about being a mental health advocate, please.
Okay. Well, I've been a patient my whole life, so I just kind of noticed that it's really difficult to have those conversations, right? And I'll be honest, I fuck that up all the time. I'll go on my own podcast and say I fuck up all the time, and I say way too much to this person or that person, and you're like, oh, I wasn't supposed to, oops. And then I realized, where is a safe place to have these conversations? And I think during the pandemic, we weren't able to see friends. We weren't able to get together with those people we were really close with, and nobody had an outlet. A really good friend of mine goes by Prince J, as a performer. They, them pronouns. Incredible poet. Had hosted this Instagram live open mic for all of us to just belong. And I realized no one had anything going on Saturday. So I created a show called JD and Friends. And a little bit later, Mental Health Mondays was born. But like, that was like the beginning of it. And then around February, I want to say 2021, I talked to the creator, who's a good friend of mine, of Get Loud Movement. And I was like, hey, what would you think about doing a show on mental health? And they were like very much on board. They were very supportive. So it was just kind of this thing. It actually started on Valentine's Day because they were like, hey, I bet people are hurting on this day. Especially during this pandemic, let's start it now. And so we started it on Valentine's Day, 2021. And so it's going to come up on 2 years, Valentine's Day, 2023.
Wow. So talk to us a little bit about J.D. Stevens being a lifelong mental health patient, and then I'll tell you about me real quick, and we'll get back to you.
Sure. What do you want to know? Like, there's so many layers to that. So,
Like,
just
when
like,
did you first, like, how and when did you realize you might be unique? And what kind of things have you done to try to cope? And how's coping gone? That sort of stuff in a light kind of version.
I started showing symptoms as early as 10, but I wasn't officially like we didn't start getting me help till about 16. I want to say 15, 16 in high school. That's when we really knew, okay. And I wasn't diagnosed correctly, and I wouldn't be for many years. It wasn't until in the pandemic when I started getting the help I needed. And I've just kind of had this journey of like, for several years, I had feared medication. And um, I think during the pandemic, I realized I was going to take whatever help I needed to get me through it, forget it. Um, so I just started with a psychiatrist, kind of going through, okay, that doesn't work. Okay, that doesn't work. That still doesn't work. And we just kind of figured it out, just hit and miss together. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so you're a health advocate. Well, I was going to tell you a little bit about me real fast. I
Yeah.
don't like interviewers that talk about themselves, so this is going to be fast. But just to make you feel comfortable, that I'm not opening you up to make you feel awkward, I'm going to throw myself under the bus. So my parents went through the Holocaust, the one that did exist, unfortunately. And that's a joke. So they went through it and they came to America and they were traumatized in America trying to raise kids. So they were basically, unfortunately, not present, depressed. And then I was always sad because I never felt like they were there for me. I was always lonely and sad, even though I had a twin brother. You would think that, and a sister. I felt like nobody wanted me. And so my whole life I've been sad and depressed, seriously. And I never attempted suicide until when my daughter and I were living. I got hit by a drunk driver when when I was 40, 36 to 40, somewhere in there. Got hit by a drunk driver, sustained brain trauma that turned into mild dementia due to brain trauma. Whole new personality, whole lot of anger, and it's all free, and I'm Jewish. So there's a joke there. And so, my daughter tried to take care of me, but unfortunately, as God would have it with his amazing sense of humor, she's bipolar, taking care of someone with a brain injury. So that's like disaster waiting to happen. So she did it and did it and did it, took care of me until she was either going to blow her brains out or hit me. And thank God she hit me a lot. And so we had to go our separate ways. And so that's me in a nutshell. That's my whole life. So I started doing comedy the day we went our separate ways. Don't know if that'll ever come back. That's up to both our paths meeting again. I don't know. So there you are. So that's as real as I can be. That's who I am. That's what God allowed to have happen in my life. So you're out helping people in your vicinity or on Zoom with mental health?
So we do Instagram Live. I bring people on that have real struggles. I remember during the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial, one of the most stigmatized um, personality disorders was borderline because they had diagnosed Amber on the spot, you know, and I'm not here to argue whether that was legitimate or not. What I'm here to say is like that was a highly stigmatized personality disorder. So I had somebody actually from the UK come on the show, and she talked about her own personal struggle with borderline to help humanize that and to help like kind of put an end to that stigma. That was really important to me. So
That's fabulous. Fabulous. Yeah, when they couldn't figure out about me, they one of the things that saved my life, maybe if anybody's listening with any kind of mental health issues that you're not afraid to look into, if you think that you might look up borderline, and if you think that rings true for you, what saved my life was DBT skills, dialectical
mm,
behavioral therapy. Up until then, my entire life, I thought whatever mood came, I had to just be fine with it till it passed. And turns out there's a lot of things you can do to change your depression or change your mood or your thinking or in the moment, and you can kind of guide yourself through those rough moments.
definitely.
Yeah.
Um, for sure.
Yeah. So you've had mental health scenarios that you're very open about sharing, and there's no stigma here. And obviously, and you also now are able to give back to people. That's amazing. Congratulations. It's a full circle.
No, I still struggle. And that's something that I always say is like, I don't come at it from a place of like, I don't have a PhD. So it's not knowledge, it's more experiential. And I'm growing and learning and bringing the audience along essentially.
Fabulous.
uh, when I screw up, I tend to be pretty honest about it on there. I've had episodes where I even talked about my journey. Um, we know that I have ADHD, depression, severe anxiety, and complex PTSD. Um, I was diagnosed with borderline personality disorder, but it was by someone who was newer. And so I actually had another therapist who wasn't sure if it was perhaps more in the bipolar range. And after 26 days of mania recently, I'm not sure either. So I definitely have something else going on as well. We're not sure what that is yet. So
I think that people get misdiagnosed a lot. And bipolar is kind of not bipolar, the other thing you said.
a borderline.
Yeah, I think professionals use that when they don't know how else to categorize someone. And I could be wrong, but I felt that in my case. I don't think I have borderline, but thank God I got a hold of Marsha Linehan DBT skills that are inside of borderline training. So
I've actually gone through that book. I really like DBT. There's certain things that work for me, and there's certain things that just don't work for me.
yeah.
Yeah. I will say the complex. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead. What you have to say is far more important than my next stupid question. You go.
Oh no, I was just gonna say. Along with the complex, I think it's the complex PTSD. I'm not sure, but when I get really stressed, and I'm talking severely stressed, I will actually have a seizure.
Wow.
Yeah, it has to be severe stress. Like we're talking severe verbal abuse. My body will shut down. I'll lose control of my legs and my arms, and I will actually, if it gets bad enough and they continue, I've had a seizure before. Yeah, so I don't know what's causing that. But yeah, that is a thing that I have.
Oh, I can so relate. Oh my gosh. Wow. So you're out helping people, and we're in the comedy business, and it's not funny to be helping people. It's not funny to have mental issues because there's the stigma and people discounting you when you label yourself. But has are there funny things that have happened along the way that you've been able to bring to the stage to empower others to feel okay?
I think I'm still working on some of that. I'm newer in comedy, and I'll be very honest about that. So I'm still finding the funny in it, but definitely always trying. I feel like the ADHD just lends itself to hilarity. And I'm still figuring it out with some of the others. So it's a process.
Do you do you find it offensive when somebody makes jokes about different diagnoses or disabilities, even if they have them or have them in their family?
It depends where they're coming from. If they're coming from a place of punching down on the disorder, that always hurts my heart. But I love when other people talk about it. I think more people need to open up the conversation. Bo Burnham is phenomenal at this. Sam Silverman, I'm going to give him a shout out. He's a local comedian and he's a therapist and he's phenomenal at doing this. I have so much to learn from him doing that. Just hilarious, good quality, non punching down entertainment there. So if they do it with respect, I think it's wonderful.
Absolutely, absolutely. So when you are doing your mental health help that you do, is there a target of people, or how do people find out about you?
So I do it through the Get Loud movement platform, which has 4,800 followers on the Instagram. What Get Loud movement has done for the past several years is it's a nonprofit that lifts the voices of queer artists. Um, the first couple years, we had put on Loud and Queer at the Majestic in Ventura, California. And then this year we actually moved to the Avalon in Hollywood, and the whole purpose was to lift voices of the queer artists. So we have so much support from those artists, many of whom will tune in during the live or will watch later. So that's really where the audience and the support comes from. And again, that's just Mo giving me that platform and me just being so grateful and so gracious. Like, thank you so much for letting me have that.
Wow. You must really feel fulfilled.
Yes. I would say like in the moments when I feel like I'm not doing anything, it definitely got me through.
Absolutely, absolutely. Do you feel euphoric when you're on stage telling jokes? Like my everyday waking up without my daughter in my life is hell. But when I'm on stage, my body's in a lot of I'm riddled with physical pain and mental pain. But when I'm on stage, there's no pain. How about you?
There's no high, like I love weed, I'll be honest, but there's no high better than being completely sober, standing in front of people, completely losing yourself into the moment, into the craft, completely throwing yourself into it. Nothing compares to that. I remember the first time I did it. It was at the Thirsty Ox, which is like this dinky hole in the wall. The Thirsty Ox, okay? And I bombed in front of like these guys. And I bombed so hard that you could hear a guy receive a text message on the other side of the bar. And he felt so bad. He bought me a round of drinks. And I just went, I'm a paid artist. That counts. And I knew I wanted to do it forever because it felt amazing. Even with him receiving that text message and everybody hearing that over me, I was like, yep, this is it.
That's so cool. So, what is the best thing that has happened in your comedy and the best thing that's happened in your mental health advocacy?
Ooh. Okay. Comedy. I have to think about that. The Laugh Festival was pretty cool. Um, gosh, that's definitely up there. Or the people that I've gotten to meet along the way. I'm always floored at the people that I get to meet sometimes. Um, or like some of the shows that I'll get put on, and I'm like, wait a minute, this person does all these things. You put me on a show with him? Oh, okay. I mean, okay. And then you have to be like, yeah, I'm on a poster with them. Yeah. um, so I think that's always like just I'm so new that everything just feels amazing. Like every I still feel euphoric going to an open mic. I still get high from that. So I think everything that I get to do, at least in person, doing comedy, has and all the opportunities Zoom provided as well along the way. I don't know, everything about it just has been an incredible experience. So maybe the Laugh Festival, just because it's the most recent in my mind, has been the best so far. As for mental health advocacy, oh gosh, I have to think about it. I'm like, I honestly think it just comes down to when we had that, me and Mo originally had that conversation, and Mo was like, go for it and you have full reign. Like, I can log into this Instagram that I did not create um, in order to host. And I have access to that audience and to be trusted with that audience explicitly. Mo trusts me explicitly. I can say whatever I want on that platform and do what I want because Mo knows that I don't tolerate hate, punching down, transphobia, homophobia, or racism or misogyny. Um, so I pretty much have free reign to do what I want.
Wow.
And I think that's the coolest thing that's happened.
What? What'd you say?
I think that is the coolest thing that's happened, is getting to host that and getting that platform.
Absolutely. So let's go back in a DeLorean and Back to the Future, go through your life. I want to see snapshots. I want you to paint pictures, what you were like as a little kid at home, a little kid going through school.
It depends what age. I peaked early.
How about let's start with 6.
6. Let me think. I already didn't like school. Like, I liked kindergarten. I liked that. But by 6, I was in first grade because I started early. I didn't like first grade. I had a messy desk. I didn't want to be there. They were making us actually pay attention, and math got introduced into the equation. I wasn't happy about any of that.
Did any of your teachers see any of your special qualities, or were you kind of like victimized by teachers for being different?
Um, I don't think anything really stood out because I was quiet. I was I was outgoing to a point, but I didn't really stand out as a kid. It's like, oh, here's the C- student. I don't know what you want us to say. I mean, eventually I became the F student, and every teacher went, "Oh, she's just not applying herself." It's like, no, that's not that's not it.
Exactly. Exactly. In your life, when did any kind of awareness of mental health issues come out to you? Because mine was after the brain trauma. I mean, I was always sad and everything always hit me hard. But when I got the brain trauma, then everything came out.
Hmm. I think it okay. So I started cutting in high school, and I didn't just cut. Like, my arms were completely ripped apart. I would take glass and I would break it. We're gonna have to put so many trigger warnings on this episode. I'm so sorry. But I would take glass and I would break it and I would count to 100 and go back and forth until it left these bleeding indentations until I could see my veins. And then I would take safety pins and play with my veins.
Wow.
And it was, and I would do mostly the glass just because I was trying to get rid of all that pent up pain. And I think I was already showing symptoms of complex PTSD and anxiety and what it feels like when that's triggered. But I didn't know that. And so I was doing anything I could. And the way I would describe it is I was exchanging this pain for this.
Yeah,
Because
I get
this
it.
was easier. Yeah.
I used to scratch my head until it bled. I'd have scabs all over from scratch, literally my whole childhood.
Mm.
So I get it. I get it a lot, what you're saying. So what do you feel like as far as when, like, let's say something's bothering you today and you dial suicide prevention or you dial up your counselor or whatever, to what degree do you think that people really listen and really care? And then we'll go back through your childhood a little bit more, but I want to hear that right now. Like, how well do you
Okay.
think it's working for people?
I will say the suicide hotline annoys me. I like the Trevor Project, and I know that I am LGBTQ. I do tend to call Trevor Project if I have to call something. I called the suicide hotline a few times, and I remember them just saying, on a scale of 1 to 5, is your pain? And then like I remember telling the person like as we were talking, I was like, they're like, so do you feel better? And I was like, not really very, no. And they were like, okay, well, call back if you need anything. And then like you just hear, thank you for calling the suicide hotline on a scale of 1 to 5. And I was just like, they have like an exit and entry survey, and I get it, but that's really annoying.
Totally. That's great material for stage.
Right?
It
I
is.
should use that.
Yeah. I, so let's explore your childhood. You're in school and you're getting C minuses and then you get Fs. And so I did the same route. And so did anybody come alongside and say, is anything bothering you, or how's your home life, or how are you feeling, or anything? Me neither.
No. My teacher said because I went by she then, so that's why I am. And by the way, I do go by she they, so it is okay if someone out there or even yourself calls me she. I'm not offended. I go by she and they. So just so you know.
Thank you.
Of course. So they would always say she's not applying herself. She's so smart. She's just not trying. And my mom was just very much like, well, your teacher said that. You're so smart. You're just not applying yourself. Nobody understood that it was probably a cry to be seen because I felt invisible at home and I felt invisible at school. There were a lot of things that went on in my life. There were a lot of things that were said that were really hard. And I had to hear them from my mom, to be honest. And I would go to school, and I talked about this on Mental Health Mondays. Like you're hurt and you're broken and you feel like you don't belong. And my family would regularly say the kind of jokes you don't say to a child, like, well, then why don't you just kill yourself? I just dropped the potato. Like it's gonna be okay. Right? Like,
Yeah.
but I would go to school with all this pain and I'd be like, I just can't handle it anymore. I look over at the other kid on the swings and we're like 8, 9 years old, and I'd be like, maybe I could just swing hard enough to like flip over. And the other kid's like, oh, do you want a Dunkaroo? I don't know how to solve this. Like, because how's a 10-year-old supposed to tell you what to do about that? And I didn't know how to solve it. And my dad was amazing, but he always worked. He to provide, you know, he was working 80, 90 hours a week. So it was basically my mom was the one around. And, you know, you just kind of get exposed to things. You know, I love my family. I don't not love them, but there's trauma.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So now that you're, out of high school, what kind of things did you do after high school? How far out of high school are you? You say you bloomed early. I wouldn't know what age you are. No idea.
Oh, I peaked at 3. Like we were done by 3.
Funny.
I taught myself how to read because my mom was really tired one night and she's like, well, I don't feel like reading this, but you can hold the book up. And I was like, well, if you hold it up, I'll read it. And she was like, I never taught you that. But here's the thing. I loved when she would read. So I would follow along and we had the same like 50 books in rotation and we would go over them over and over. And when she wasn't around, I was looking at them. So I just remember this one night, I just started making the sounds I remember she would make when she would point to the words. And she just freaked out because this 3-year-old taught itself to read.
Gee.
I peaked there. That was it. That was my finest performance. That was my magnum opus. To date, it hasn't gotten better than that. Sorry. So
So
mom
after high
thought she was getting hard. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No,
Sorry.
go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just gonna joke. My mom thought she was getting Harvard. She got Moorpark College.
Whoa. So what did you do after high school? Take us from there till today.
I fucked up, and it's gonna be okay.
Freaking love it. Oh, you have no idea the things I've fucked up in my life. No idea.
I went to Moorpark College. I became a music major. I loved music, and then I immediately threw it out for a guy that came along and paid me compliments, but he was incredibly abusive. He tried to kill me twice. I stayed for 3 years. I left. I had become an alcoholic. I became a like a gaming holic, I guess you would call it. I had over a year slash play time on World of Warcraft because I'd just given up on my life. I went through a series of bad relationships. I became a born again Christian. Several years I walked away from that because I recognized our ideals don't align and who I had started to become and the voice that came out of my mouth wasn't me anymore. So I left to go find myself, worked a job I hated, became a stoner, became a full blown alcoholic, lost my dad, had the midlife crisis over that. Went back to school, dropped out again, went through a series of jobs and sort of kind of found myself along the way. I don't have the greatest relationship with my family. I don't have a relationship with my family except for my mom, and I like it that way. I choose to keep it that way. That is my choice for my own sanity. For me, it's my sister. So yeah, I found comedy, and comedy allows me to laugh. Comedy allows me to laugh about the fact that I'm an alcoholic. Comedy allows me to laugh about the fact that I'm hurting inside, but everybody is. But let's go tell jokes. And I think one of the most beautiful moments I ever had. You know what? The most beautiful moment in comedy I ever had was right before the pandemic. And I'm standing around with several of the local comics. David Bravo was there, giving him a shout out because he's one of the homies, and several other people were there as well. And we had 2 blunts going around in the circle. This is before the pandemic. Okay, we shared blunts back then, and like you just had one blunt going this way and one blunt going that way, and we're just shooting the shit like right before an open mic. And I just remember looking up at the stars, and it's a perfect night, and we're all perfectly high, and I was just so happy. Like this is everything I wanted, was just to hang out with comedians and be stoned off my ass and tell jokes. And now, yeah.
What happened in your life to make you decide to go on stage and face the possibility of constant rejection?
Well, I spent my life as a fat girl, so I already faced a life of rejection. And I was a music major, so I had a huge fear of being on stage. Huge fear. I hated it. And what I recognized is the first solo I was given that I didn't run away from. I used to run away from my solos. They'd give me a solo because I was good, and then I wouldn't take it. It was hilarious. But the first solo that I ever took, and that stuck with me, was from a man named James Steeman, and I think he's passed since, sadly. He had been told to never give me a solo because I would just run away. And he said, I'm going to teach you this solo before I give anybody else a shot at it, so that you know exactly what you're auditioning with and you feel comfortable enough to sing it and you don't run away. And I remember when I performed that solo, I was so scared that I almost peed myself, but I was so high off of the euphoria that I wanted to do that again and again and again. So I threw myself into majoring into music. And when I gave it up, I felt like a piece of my soul died. And when I found comedy, I felt like that piece of my soul came back to life.
That's so good. That gave me body chills. That's what you just did for me. What do you plan to do with the rest of your young life? Like, let's say you're going to be 71 and you're going to die like me. What do you want to do before you get old and die like me?
Oh my gosh. So I have so many aspirations, and I've been told by some I am delusional, but I don't care. I want to get the Pulitzer Prize. I want to be a New York Times bestselling author. I want 2 Netflix specials. I want to produce my own shows out here. I want to be able to tour as a comedian. I also want to be able to create opportunities for other artists around me. I do not believe in punching down on other artists. I do not believe I'm in competition with anybody except for myself, and how well I write my material, and how hard I'm grinding, and how hard I'm trying. I choose to look at people who do better than me as inspirational and not with jealousy. I have a growth mentality, and I have things I want to do. Like the podcast, I want to turn that into creating merch for it, and to being able to do something with it, and to have people on, and to create a platform that can be a catalyst for people, but that also tells the unique story that the listeners really into, of like, I fucked up and it's going to be okay. Suicide is one of the leading causes of death in our country, but it's okay if you fuck up, right? And like, let's talk about it. Let's have these conversations. Let's make it okay. And
Wow.
so that's what I want to do. Yeah.
That's so beautiful. You know how many people you can touch with that? People haven't heard that. Doesn't always come through your parents, you know? Sometimes the opposite comes from family. And it's so cool that you're giving that to others. I'm so happy for you, proud. I can't wait to hear all of you're going to have people the rest of your life coming back and saying, you saved my life. You turned my life around. What a great legacy.
Oh. I think I did have somebody come up to me and say something like that. And I think I just broke down crying because that meant everything to me.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. It's so cool. What would you like to tell people? We're post-pandemic. Some people are working, some aren't. So, like the world's divided. Everybody's screaming at each other. The world is falling apart. Sky is falling over in Kiev. What would you like to say in general? Is anything as long as it's not political, and really, yeah, I like staying away from religion too.
um, gosh, anything. Choose compassion, choose love, choose to understand. I know when people hurt me or people, I've had friends recently even say I'm too much, I can't, and like drop me. Um, I choose love. I choose compassion. I choose, okay, like he broke my heart, but okay,
Wow.
I wish nothing but the best for you, and I hope blessings upon you. And I think that was my dad. My dad taught me to never give up when it's hard on people because I was a difficult child, and my dad never even considered giving up on me. My dad was this steadfast person. I don't know if I'm saying the right word there. Hang on. He
Sure.
was just he was such a sturdy hearted person. He was unconditional love personified. And I want to be like that. And I want people to know it's okay if you fuck up. You know, um, you do matter. You are seen. I'm sorry for what people say. I'm sorry for what people do to you. Um, you're human. We're all human. You deserve the same rights to exist, to be who you are without fear of retaliation. You deserve, as long as it's not imposing on other people's rights, that's important, right? But like,
Yeah.
you deserve, you deserve to be seen. You deserve to be heard. You deserve to have your hurt cared for and gently received. And I don't think that we know how to do that as a society.
Not at
So I
all.
guess that's what I would say. Is like when it's not, I'm sorry, but you deserve that.
I love that. You're such a beautiful person. Such a, like there should be more baby boomers like you. Let's be real.
Aw, I don't think I'm a baby boomer. I'm 36. Am I a
No,
baby
I
boomer?
said there should be more baby boomers like you. Like of all the baby boomers I know, none of them are like you.
My dad was.
Aw, my dad was. I relate to how you feel about your dad. My dad was, well, he had two sides. He could be, just a jerk at home and wonderful to strangers. He had that, but I
Mm.
still love him.
Aw.
Yeah. Well, this has been an awesome time for me to get to know you. And having said that, what are you doing Veterans Day, November 11th at 9 a.m.?
What day is that?
I don't know. Today is the 5th. And so that's today is Saturday, 6th, 7th, Tuesday or Wednesday. Um, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
It's Friday, right? It's Saturday, Friday.
Wait, to the 11th. Today is the 5th, so it'd be Friday.
Yeah. I don't actually have plans that day.
I'd love to have you come on my Zoom as like your in your name on the Zoom, say mental health advocate. And I'm hosting at 9 a.m. for military veterans and military people to come on for Veterans Day. And sometimes mental health things come up. I'd love to have you just be there as an advocate, like to listen and let them know they're okay.
I'm happy to do that. Just know I'm not a licensed professional. I am an advocate, but that's not a professional. So I'm
Yeah.
happy to do it. Absolutely.
Yeah, even if you
Yeah.
just put your name, just your JD Stevens / MH advocate. Advocate pretty much
Okay.
says you're not a, licensed or doctor or whatever. Yeah, I'd love to have
Yeah.
you be a part of that.
Sure. Yeah,
Because I
I'm
think
absolutely down.
veterans and comedians and dentists are, well, nowadays everybody's on the edge of wanting to off themselves. Have you noticed?
Yeah.
It's really sad, but like when I first got into comedy, you were hard pressed to find anybody that identified with being upset, let alone depressed. But now it's very much in the open. It's very necessary for everyone to have the ability to speak about it without any kind of, like that it's not okay, or to have something. Why do we say something's wrong with that person? That makes me so angry. Maybe something's different than you, but maybe they think something's wrong with you. Yeah. So I'd love to have you come on and tell us where to follow you, where you could use some numbers.
Sure. Okay. So on Instagram, it's just my name. I'll put together JDSTEPHANS. I just lost a bunch of like my Twitter people. They didn't necessarily. I think they just quietly left because I didn't like lose followers. But definitely, I'm like, where's the engagement? I finally figured this out. Where'd you all go? So like, I mean, if y'all are on Twitter, it's JD_STEPHANS. And then the same for TikTok, JD_STEPHANS. Yeah, follow me. Or no, sorry, no. I changed it. So for TikTok is actually JD Stevens Poetry is like my main account, and I tried to have a comedy one too, and I gave up. So my poetry is my main TikTok now. So it's JD Stevens Poetry actually.
JD, where do they see your poetry?
Oh, it's on TikTok. So JD Stevens Poetry on TikTok.
Super.
Yep.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. I'll see you at another KO comedy show or on Zoom. And one day maybe you'll come to Vegas and I'll get to meet you in person.
Yeah, that would be awesome. I'll let you know.
Super. Thank you, JD Stevens, you guys. Bye.
Bye.
Love you. Bye.
Hey.